we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will call the meeting to order. We have the agenda in front of us. Are there any additions or corrections?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to add under Administrator, we received notice of our audit engagement letter with the Office of State Auditor and requires your signature and my signature. And since we haven't done anything about moving away from the State Auditor's office, this is merely a formality.
Okay, we will add that under your item in the agenda. Is there anything else?
No.
Right. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Ted makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Public input. Anybody here to address the board? All right, seeing nothing. Consent agenda.
I'll move to approve.
Char moves.
I'll second.
Is there any changes or any additions or anything? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. County employee recognition.
Good morning.
Morning.
For employee recognition today in facilities, we have Judith Delp, custodian, is recognized for 10 years of service on July 13th. And in highway, Michael Bollinger, maintenance 2, began the full-time position on July 14th.
Okay, well, thank you. Highway survey.
Morning.
Morning.
I have two items this morning. The first one is a quote to review and approve for purchasing another bulk purchase of Hubbard County maps, the folded paper ones that we have at our office, and we supply some to the courthouse and we supply some to the chamber, and they pass them out. So the low quote for this one came in at $3,130.89, and that would be for 3,000 maps from ProPrint, who did them last time, and they're out of Duluth.
Andrew, are there any changes, or are you just printing the same as before?
There'll be minor changes. We had some roads that have been paved since then, so just changes like that, but I don't think there's any major changes in terms of trails or any boundaries or anything like that.
I'll move to approve the low quote.
Okay, Char moves.
Is Ted all second?
Ted seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.
All right, and the next item I have is to approve equipment that we've gathered for auction, surplus equipment that has either been replaced by a newer piece of equipment, or it's just become not used like we'd like it. So the list in front is from Highway Survey, and then NRM had a few pieces of equipment too they'd like to sell. And we plan on doing this through KBID again. And part of a statute that came out is that we have to advertise if we're expecting to gain more than 15,000 from the sale. So once we receive confirmation from KBID at the date of the auction, we'll put a notice in the newspaper for 2 weeks of the major pieces of equipment that we'll have listed. Which are usually like a truck or like a tandem truck or a tractor. Sometimes will net that much.
Do you ever offer any of these to, say, a township that would want to have a plow truck or anything?
I don't. They'd still have to bid on them or do like a sealed quote, quote kind of bid. We can't just say, here's, we have a truck, here you go.
Yeah.
Has to be competitive still.
Okay.
And KBID is just the easiest way to do that. Just put it up there, and then they can bid as they see fit if they need it in their system.
What about any other departments? Are we offering in like say a pickup?
Yep, I know Josh took a look at the list
Okay.
briefly to see if he needed anything, and NRM looked and we looked, and
Okay.
just excess equipment. We kept some older trucks that we had. We're gonna replace some older ones out at the outlane shop, so we kind of fit them where they were needed.
All right, very good.
Yeah, that's why I wondered about the 2016 Silverado with 60,939 miles.
And this one, it didn't show up on here. I had that one highlighted actually. And that one, we're thinking of using at our Nevis shop. We're just looking to see what's out there. And then one of those pickups that we have now is leased. So we're looking at buying out that lease, using this one, and then getting a crew cab 3/4 ton out there. So it didn't show up on here. I had that one highlighted as a possibility of removing if we see a need for it.
Did ESO, are their trucks newer than what you're putting on the sale? Anybody know?
The pickups or
The pickups, yeah.
we have newer ones. Yep, a lot of ours are newer. And this is one thing that I really delved into in my previous job was equipment like this, you know, especially pickups, you hit a curve where it becomes, you know, between mileage and year, you hit a rate where you start losing value on your pickups. And usually it's around that 6-7 year age or 100,000 miles is kind of where you start losing that value of your pickup. So that's the time you want to try to trade in or, you know, use it elsewhere if you can, or, you know, use it at a different department. So kind of keeping up with that and keeping the best value of our equipment too.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Dave makes a motion, is there a second?
This is Ted, I'll second.
All right, any more discussion?
So I have a question. So if ESO decided that one of these trucks would fit better because, for whatever reason, we can approve this, but you can pull anything off, right?
I could.
Okay.
Yep.
So I would encourage you to reach out to Eric just in case.
Yep.
I don't know what they have for pickups.
Yeah, I don't either. Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
Yeah, I can give a quick construction update. The CASA 45 bridge is underway and that's on schedule here. CASA 1, we got started last week with removals on phase 1. That's going well. They're gonna be working on the city water and sewer lines the next couple weeks here. 7 and 40, the roundabout, everything's going pretty smooth out there. They'll be working on road grading and the storm sewer the next couple weeks. CASA 13, the city of Nevis, we did have our pre-con with Anderson Brothers. August 4th is the date they're looking to start on 13, and then August 25th is the start date for the city of Nevis. So about a month of work they're expecting between both those projects.
Is that a full reclaim on 13?
Yep, it is. It will be open to traffic. There's some culvert replacements, but we talked through that as well. They're gonna do those in phases where it'll still be open to traffic. There'll be flaggers and pilot cars out there to help with traffic control, so.
When is 7 and 40 to be done?
End of August is what we're estimating right now, yep.
And
It's-
October is number 1, right?
Yes, it'll be mid-October is kind of the completion date there, so, yep.
Yep. And then we have our bidding for the 4 and 40 intersection on July 30th. So we'll see what that comes in at, and then that will be fitting in there at some point too. That's a shorter project though, but another much needed improvement on that intersection.
So you're still hoping to get that done this fall?
Yep, this fall. Yep, is the planned timeline for it. Yep.
That's all I got.
All right.
Any questions at all? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Solid waste.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, I have a couple agenda items for you this morning. The first one I have is to review and approve a quote for a mower for our department. We budgeted for a new lawnmower in our 2025 budget. Or look at replacing an older mower that will be replaced and auctioned in the future. We received quotes from a few different vendors, L&M's Fleet, Kel's Motor Group, and Up North Power and Sports. Looked at kind of several different mower options, and we felt mower from Up North Power and Sports would provide the best value, warranty, and service, and that would be our recommendation, is to go with Toro from Up North Power and Sports for $7,911.18.
Do you know what the difference between the three that the second quote was?
So they have like
Is it just
they
deck
have a
size,
brand
or
of a
is it-
mower, and then like one's a heavy, a standard brand, one's a heavy duty brand, and one's, a different engine option in it, so.
All right, I was just curious. Okay.
How much land is mowed by solid waste?
So we have our, all the way out to the highway and back, and then just around our facility, all of our buildings out back.
I'm just wondering if it can be, like a mower can be shared with the natural resource parks department.
I guess it's something we've never explored. It could maybe be done, I don't know how it would work with their schedule, I guess. That's where, sometimes we have had STS out there in the past too, mowing, like they do actually do our mowing up north, their north facility, but it's just a lot of times it's hard to align schedules and stuff like that, so.
Cause I just imagine, it's an $8,000 mower, and then you use it maybe half a day, and then it sits for a couple of weeks. That's just what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
As if I had my own business, I wouldn't, I'd try to find more uses for it.
So you must currently have a mower, right?
Yep, we have an older Cub Cadet mower that we use at our facility, so.
How long did that last?
So we had that just on a 10-year replacement plan, so it's 2015.
Held up pretty good?
Yeah, it wasn't more of a residential quality mower, so, we've had issues with that. That's why we wanted to get into a little bit better of grade of mower. Just, we're running over certain things out there, and you don't,
Sand
yeah.
destroys the decks in a hurry if they're not heavier gauge.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, Dave moves. Is there a second? I'll second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll vote no opposed.
Okay. Okay, motion carried, and then on to the next item.
All right, so the next item I have is for approving quotes for roll-off containers. We had budgeted for container replacements in our 2025 budget. These roll-offs would be used for, a couple of them would be used for our non-burnable waste, and kind of that we have out front of our transfer station, adding to our fleet out there. And then a couple of them are a little bit larger roll-offs that we could also use if we need it out there, but also haul wood chips and use for our organics program as well. So we received quotes from 3 different vendors, with Waste Quip out of Rosemont, Minnesota, being the low quote for $26,556.12. And again, this would be for 2 20-yard roll-off containers and 2 40-yard roll-off containers. The quote was with Waste Quip, did include shipping, and they have a estimated lead time of 4 to 5 weeks. And then since we had the 3 quotes, we did not quote this through the Sourcewell contract.
How many years do you get out of these before they rust away?
Well, I haven't really, with the roll-offs anyway, we haven't really replaced any since I've been here. So, I know some of our compactor ones that we're using, like for our recycling, that are out there every day on the highway. Some of them are getting in pretty tough shape where we're looking at possibly going out and getting them sandblasted and repainted. But I think probably a good depreciation probably would be 15 years.
Okay, we have the information. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the low quote number 1.
Ted makes the motion. Is there a second? I'll second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
And that's all I had, unless anybody has anything else. So.
I just have a question. Seems like every time I do stop at the South Transfer Station, I don't know if it would be bay number 1, the main door where everybody just dumps, and then you take your dumpsters and dump them. Seems like there's always a large volume there. I mean, are we that busy? Or is it the scheduling of taking the trailers out from the pit and rotating them?
So you mean
How often do they get hauled?
the amount of garbage that we
Yeah.
have on the floor?
Yeah.
It seems like it's always a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're on a shared contract with Beltrami County, so we got 2 to 3 trailers coming every day, and if we get backed up, get more volume in, it just backs us up until we can get caught up later in the week. So it's kind of a fine line with scheduling for when they're calling for trailers and with working with the rollout or the hauler of the trailers to make sure that all of our facilities at the south, at the north, Bemidji, Polk County, all are getting all their supplies met and can do all their rotations. So
How many trailers do we typically have stationed down here to refill? One or
so
two?
typically we don't have any extras,
No
really
extras.
sitting on site. It's they come
Okay.
and then we fill it. So
Okay, well, boy, that doesn't take very long. Now with that kind of volume.
so I mean, like last week, we were pretty much all week in the south station. We were hauling out 4 semi trailers a day, and that puts when you do that especially in the very peak times of the year, that puts stress on the rest of the system. So it's
sure.
just
Because everybody's busy at the same time. you
Yeah.
know.
and it's a balancing act too with. Does Beltrami County, for instance, purchase 1 or 2 additional trailers? Does the hauler, do they have to provide, hire another employee to haul these trailers? And how do you manage that with the peak volumes and then the opposite end with the slow volumes in the winters? So,
Yeah, it just seems like there's a significant amount there, and just kind of question why.
yeah, and it depends on the day. I mean, even with the 4th of July week, I mean, come last Friday, we were pretty much cleaned out. So, I mean, it just depends on the day and the time. So.
Very good.
I'm assuming it's like the north transfer station when the trailer's full or pulled out of there waiting for another one to be put in. There's no other place to put the garbage but on the floor. And I know I've had residents call over the years talking about it, having to wade through it, and it's kind of like, well, you're not supposed to wade through it. You're supposed to throw your garbage right there because there is no trailer to throw into or something like
Yeah.
that, so.
Yeah, and that the North Station provides more challenges too, just with being closed on Wednesdays and Thursdays. They don't want to have an extra trailer sitting up there when they're closed. It just provides challenges there, and we've been backed up with all the stuff in Bemidji too. It's put more stress on the trailers. So, but I think overall with what we've dealt with this summer with the storm damage and stuff up there, and I know Beltrami County's added trailers, added expanded hours, and I think we've actually been keeping up pretty good, so.
I think so too. Thank you.
Did we have an increase in debris being brought to the transfer station on those days where we were typically closed?
It's been pretty slow. We're gonna, these next 2 days will be our last 2 days. I was thinking about, maybe shifting early, reducing them hours again, but I think we'll leave them open these last 2 days, but, we haven't seen that terribly much volume.
Okay, all right. I was just curious because we made that accommodation, so. All right, very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Administrator.
Well, the only item I have for action is to approve the engagement letter with the Office of State Auditor's Office, and that's just the only copy I have is the clean copy, and that's the one Steve has, so I apologize that you haven't seen it, but it's the same terms and conditions that we've had before. And since we haven't sent them in the letters notifying that we're not working with them, and since we're not at the point where we could work with somebody else, this is just routine. But I didn't want to push it off till August because I want to make sure we get started this year and get this done on time.
Well, I'm assuming it would be like other organizations I'm with, and they're having a hard time finding auditors. I would assume if we didn't go with the state auditor, we may struggle finding somebody to do it.
We have always held that we're not gonna be able to go out and look for somebody else to do our audit until we're actually capable of delivering our own financial reports. And we've made a lot of progress in the last 6 months in being able to do that. We are still working with CLA just in a advisory capacity to do some of these things, and they are helping us get our audit prep done. So we're not gonna be waiting till February next year to get the 24 audit done. The fact that we have an audit engagement letter from the team leader, Karen Stacken, is good. That means we're on her schedule, and we wanna do everything we can to move this forward and get it done on time this year. But yes, we can't leave the service of the OSA without providing a letter, and the window opens up every other year. I don't even know what year it is. Once we're in a position to be able to do that, then we'll have a decision to make as to whether we wanna send them a letter. But you send them a letter that basically says we're canceling our engagement with you and we're gonna contract with somebody private. And I believe they will not pick you back up again for a number of years, so you're on your own for a period of time. So we know, before we would make that decision or make that request of you to make that decision, we would have to be pretty sure that we were in good standing. And truthfully, when we get to the point of doing the majority of our financial reports, the price for the engagement with the Office of State Auditor is gonna come down. You can see all they had in the billing is that they bill hourly for the services they provide, basically based on a sliding scale of what the seniority of the person working on the task has, just like any other consulting firm. So I expect that our cost for audit this year will be less than it has been in recent years as well.
Well, and it will be nice to make sure that we get in line with what they require.
That's the
and
only
all of
reason,
their
that's the only
parameters.
reason I'm bringing it today. It was dropped off on my desk at 8:20. And I just wanted I wanted us not to be the reason that we are 2 weeks behind the schedule, so.
All right, so is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
All right, Ted moves. Is there a second?
I'll second with a comment that it is my goal that we will be in position in the near future to actually have options. Thank you to all the staff that's worked really hard on doing whatever is needed to get it this far.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried.
And I think the only update I would have would be relative to the budget schedule, but I think you all know that. Our deadline for department managers is Friday this week. You should have the first version of the IFS budget before our meeting, first Tuesday in August. And work session in August and September will be much busier because we're gonna be talking budget and there's a lot of things to look at. But I would answer any questions that you might have. I would note of the first item on meetings to note is the Township Association meeting next Monday. I'll be speaking and I'll be talking about tax exempt lands. I got a conversation, or I had an email from Theora quite a few weeks ago, and I said I'd be willing to address it when I spoke to her. And she talked about tax exempt lands not paying anything into the levy, and that's true. I've done a little bit of research though, and I found that our the timber that we manage generates about $1.4 million a year. We, on 163,000 acres that we manage, we get $1.4 million of PILT payments on 100,000 acres. Those average to something like $9.46. I have the numbers, I'll bring them next time. But $9.46 per acre is what we get. No, On those two, it's 1146 per acre is what we get on average from managed lands. Almost $3 million. When we look at the $160,000 acres of rural vacant land, if these lands were owned privately and not developed, they'd be classed as rural vacant land. Rural vacant land, we get $7.46 an acre for. So now I've actually worked through the numbers to figure out how much more we earn from tax exempt lands than we do by privately owned, non-developed lands. But the real kicker is, and I figured this out while I was looking at it, that $3 million that we get from those tax exempt lands is in addition to our levy. If all those acres were owned privately and classed as rural vacant land, we'd have to raise our levy immediately by $4 million to have the same amount of revenue coming in. Just to break even, because we're getting $3 million at 1146 an acre. And if it was at rural vacant land, we'd have to raise the levy to have the operating funds to provide those services. And we split those PILT payments and those timber payments out to other taxing entities too, so they would, not all of that would fall on us, some of it would fall on them, but it would all fall on property owners if we shifted that to levy instead of from those two other forms of payment. So at least in Hubbard County, those 260,000 acres provide the recreation, the quality of life, and they more than offset the cost of them being exempt. Now, schools, churches, our buildings, all those other exempt properties are a different class, but everybody kind of has those in the same quantity and measure.
Can you make sure in your presentation, and you kind of just alluded to the point a little bit, that that's all well and good for undeveloped property or property you don't think would ever be developed. But as an instance, that last set that went up in Mantrap, that was never even presented to the township, and they never even thought about the possibility of what kind of revenue would be generated if it's developed. It's a different game then.
It is, but when you're
Just
talking
like
about.
our industrial park,
Yep.
it's going to generate much more if
Oh,
that comes.
yeah, if it's gonna
built
be-
out than it would sitting there as vacant land.
Yeah, as vacant land, it's not worth very much. As developed land, it certainly is.
So they have to do that analysis, and I don't know that, townships always do that when they look at it. They just look at the PILT and think, oh, hey, it's better. Well,
Jeff, do you know how many acres the DNR owns in Hubbard County?
There are just under 100,000 acres of state managed land. We manage 163,000 of tax forfeited. So take that band, a third of the width of the county from east of Akeley up to Itasca State Park.
For some reason, I figured that number would be higher.
1,000 square miles, 640,000 acres, 260,000 acres of TFL and state-managed land, just over a third. And if you visually look at it that way and think of it, it makes sense. Yes, I agree, when you think about it, it seems like it's gonna be more, but. when you-
Especially the state is
Yep.
what I was thinking. Yeah.
Also, in your presentation, I would ask you to put that the PILT payment dollar amount is subjective to
legislative.
the
Yep.
legislators every year.
Yeah, we saw that this year.
Yeah, we did.
It's close.
Yep, so anyway, that,
That'll be a good
I'll
presentation.
be presenting that next Monday. I'm probably gonna bring that to you as part of the budget conversation, but I wanted to say it a couple of times while we're here being recorded, because it's really important to know that $3 million of revenue is a source other than levy, which means that we don't have to raise taxes to make that happen. It's still, the timber is coming from industry, right? But the PILT is coming from other people's taxes. I mean, that's what it is, but it's not being assessed locally at our properties, so. And then the other thing I would mention is, Matt Hilgert was putting together, some type of, an update on tax capacity and the impact and how different, the challenges different counties face. So I wrote something up for him. He asked it about the same day I was working on these numbers, so that's mostly what's in there. And his primary question was, identify some of the things that are unique about your county and then talk about how your board takes those challenges into account when they're doing their budgeting. So if you see that in an upcoming AMC news brief, that's where it came from. But it primarily based on the breakout of our tax capacity, which is 70% residential, and we know that, right? And then talks a little bit about the Enbridge dollars and that the ability that provides us to invest in capital and economic development to try to manage tax capacity. And then it identifies this issue relative to the exempt lands, but the revenue that they create offsets a significant need of additional levy. So if you see that, I don't know what he's going to do with that exactly, but he knows Hubbard County's a little unique with that combination. That would be all I have unless you have questions.
Okay, anybody have any questions? All right, we'll move on to committee reports. Ted, do you want to start?
Sure. I only had one. That was the executive board met for the HRDC. We were going over the bylaws. And I guess I kind of have a question. We've got everything's going pretty smoothly, but currently our bylaws state that the executive board serves 4-year terms and can serve 2 4-year terms. And the majority of us want to go to yearly elections. Part of the reason is, of all the committees and boards, and even this board here, I don't know if any of you guys have any committees where your executive board has 4-year terms or any terms at all, which I don't understand why we need to have terms. And like I say, it's a slim majority, I think, is agreeing with myself on that. So that's the only question I'd had, because I think you get, if a chairman or executive board, if they get too comfortable with 4-year terms and then all of a sudden they're in there for 8 years because they can serve 2 terms, I'd like to see change over. And I mean, even our board here, we change chairman and vice chair every year, and I think it's a good thing. So
Ted, I'm going to use you as an example. So currently you're on there for 4 years. You're up for election in 2 years and you decide you don't want to run. Then does the person who's ever elected in your position take your place on the executive director board there?
no, there would be, well, that's the thing now, the way the bylaws read now, then there has to be a committee formed to do a search to have somebody to replace me, which would then be voted on by the board.
And then would they be elected for the remainder of your term, or okay?
It seems like a lot of bureaucracy for a board that's basically oversight and a policy type board. So I wanted to kind of streamline it and simplify it and give opportunities, say if for some reason people don't like me as the vice chair, I'll use myself as an example. And they decide next year that maybe we'd like to have somebody different. Well, if I was on a 4-year term, you're stuck with me. And I think having 1-year terms with unlimited terms in a sense, you're proving yourself every year.
It sounds like it's a policy from way back when that needs to be updated.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's where Craig Gosvick and Craig's the chairman and I'm the vice chair, and we got together a couple weeks ago, and we talked about what our bylaws read and what we've actually been doing. And now what we've actually been doing may not be bad, but it's not what our bylaws are saying. So we're trying to reconcile all that. And like I said, there's 6 executive committee members and then the executive director. So the 7 of us, I think it's been a really good process. It's taken quite a while, but we've all had our points of view and we've all got to say what we feel is what it should be, and it's been good progress. So I'm happy with the results, even if we end up still having terms. I'm still okay with the majority of the bylaws, how we've changed them. I was gonna say corrected them, but I think maybe changed them is a better term.
Does changing the bylaw require approval from the different counties, or can your
No,
board
just-
just do it?
Just from our board, yeah.
So there must be a notification period because it's required to have a commissioner from each county on HRDC, isn't there? Or-
Yep.
So there must be something in the bylaws that, since the county boards are the entity that helped form it, I would think they would have to approve a bylaw change, or at least be notified of it.
Yeah,
We don't do that in Prime West. The
Really?
representatives
Oh.
for the counties do that.
and I guess that's the thing, we're all being represented. That was one of the things, currently, there's 16 positions for elected officials. Basically, you know, you got 5 counties, that's the county commissioners, a mayor or council person from one of the cities, and then, township, officials. But in Beltrami County, they get a second one because they have, Bemidji's over 10,000 population, so state statutes allows them. So that's where we get 16. And we currently have 9 non-elected officials. And we were talking about making sure that that number doesn't grow. We're concerned that we're dealing with public dollars, and elected officials, you know, are more maybe not responsible, or we represent the people more in a sense, instead of an organization or something. So that was part of, one of the bylaws changes is we basically just added that, a limit of 10, up to 10 non-elected officials. So it'd be, if that went through, it'd be 10 to 16. You know, there still could be a meeting where maybe there's more non-elected officials, but, you know, I
You
think
have 26 people on your board?
currently, there's some vacant seats, so currently there's 23. And I think that's more than enough.
Wow.
That's why they have to have an executive board.
So when you look at Prime West, and we represent 24 counties in the state of Minnesota, and we get one representative from every county, and you think about our budget compared to wow, you guys are really board heavy.
Yeah. And we're the only RDC that,
But remember, they got cities that are involved, not just counties.
Okay.
and they've got, and tribes
Yeah.
and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like
So
that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's up there in there.
But we're the only RDC that meets every month, where most of them meet every other month or quarterly.
What's your yearly budget?
It's under 2 million.
It's a really small
Yeah.
dollar amount for that big board.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I wanted to bring up too, is the levy, HRDC levies approximately $388,000 to the 5 counties and their residents. Hubbard County pays over 140. So that's roughly 248 for the other 4 counties to be split up. So we are far and above what everybody else pays. And I've been asking why.
Why is a good question.
And also the percentage of services given to Hubbard County compared to all the other counties,
Right.
and to the percentage that we're paying in.
Yeah, I've made that comment.
Yeah.
So I may be, the board may, the whole board, 20-some members, may view me not in a favorable light because I bring these things up. Like when we basically didn't have an executive board earlier this year, and I thought we should have elections that night, and we decided not to, you know, and like I say, some of the comments that I make, I can be blunt, but sometimes I think these things have to be said. And, but yet, I was voted in as the vice chair. So, I mean,
We appreciate your bluntness there.
You know, you look at other regional development commissions, now each one's unique and different
Yeah.
things, but, you know, what can HRDC do differently to generate more, you know, create a program that also generates revenue and helps its constituents? I mean, you look at, you know, down around the cities and Southwest, and even over near Fergus Falls, and obviously Sourcewell, and what they're able to do. they generate a lot of revenue with other programs they create, but those programs also benefit all their members.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
so
it
now,
seems like Northwest and up north, until you get to the Iron Range and up in there, we just don't do any of that kind of thing to help do that.
so going along with what Dave is saying, even beyond Hubbard County, what dollar amount are they benefiting all of the communities that they represent in a year?
I know that, like I say, with our, I think of the budget, if memory serves me, it's like 1.9 million, something like that. So if we're only levying less than 400,000, they are getting revenue from other sources of over about $1.5 million, which is a lot of times contracts with different entities and that to do the work that is being done.
And then what are they doing to generate that benefit for years out?
Yeah, and that's
A lot of it's, you create these programs and it takes personnel to manage it and stuff, and it's like, how do you, it's gotta be worth it too, you know, and it's not so easy to get established. But others have done it successfully. They found some niche that they've been able to dive into and it's worked for them.
Ah.
I don't know what it would be here, but it's the same problem with every development corporation, you know, you're counting on tax entities to fund a good portion of your thing, but you've gotta find money elsewhere too from private entities, otherwise it's really hard to sustain.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, that'll do it for me, thank you.
Great, Tom?
Yeah, I only had one, and it was the Mental Health Board, Local Advisory Council. And, well, we got on to transportation items again. Some of the things that were mentioned were, you know, like a client would call and not be able to get through, and then yet when a professional called for them, they got through right away. So there was issues with that. I don't know what the reason for that is. Another thing they mentioned was buses would run to 6:30, and yet the dispatch would close at 4. So they don't, how in the world did they get a hold of dispatch after 4 o'clock? So that, you know, it's an ongoing topic that at every meeting. It'd be good if Jason were to always, you know, as much as possible, be there.
We can answer those questions, but what I asked Brian to do was to prepare a report to bring to a work session, just to answer those. And we don't want to get into the details of this specific one because
Right,
there are some
I
things,
wasn't
there's some things in that email that are not accurate
Yep.
and not complete, so we're working on it. And we'll bring a report of how transit operates so that you guys know that to an upcoming work session, so you can ask all the questions about how we're operating. But that, we don't want to get into the nitty-gritty on that right here, so we'll have that conversation soon. But you'll get a response to that email today.
Yep, I was investigating and looking at everything yesterday and drafted a response, sent it to Jeff for his approval, and there's some things that MnDOT can't, you know, that we operate within some pretty fine constraints on MnDOT, and
The simple answer to some of those questions is budget. So if we want to supplement what we're getting for a grant for operation of transit, we certainly can consider that, and you'll see that in the response. And the basic answer to the question of why is the client not getting through when the person from the office is the client was calling 90 minutes before the office opened.
Mm-hmm.
Every 3 minutes until the office opened. And then the person from the office called during office hours, so they got a response right away. So you'll have a response to that. It's being addressed. And like I said, I think we owe you an overview of how transit operates generally. So we'll schedule that for a meeting coming up real quick here.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll let Tabby know to tune into it, because she's the one who sent the email.
right, yep. And, you know, and she could feel free to contact me anytime as well. I'm available for for any questions that she may have, so.
She had asked me about, when does the board meet, where did he meet, what time, so I thought maybe she was gonna be here today, but I guess she.
Yep, and honestly, had she contacted me, I probably could have answered a lot of the questions that she had
Okay.
before she was able to drive.
Sometimes people just don't know who to reach out to.
Right, 100%, yep.
So then they just contact one of us, which I get.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're here for, is
And
to
that-
direct,
And,
help direct
and we
people.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's-
for sure.
That's why you're gonna get a direct response to the questions you asked, and then we'll update the entire board on that process, so everybody knows.
And that's what the LSA meeting is for, because
Yep.
they have,
Yeah.
one of their topics is unmet needs, and transportation is the big item for them.
Yeah, and Jason had some meetings with MnDOT that were scheduled that were out of his control the last couple. It's just when MnDOT, we're kind of at the whim of them, as many people know. And so I'm working with Mike as well to get somebody to replace Christina, 'cause she was on there, she met, and so we'll get somebody else in there that maybe has some familiarity with the processes and stuff too. And Mike even said he would, he could possibly attend until they find a replacement for that. And then Jason will just, he'll attend as he can,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else, Tom?
No, that's it.
All right, the one meeting I had scheduled was canceled, so I didn't have anything. I just went to some township meetings and attended just to make sure everybody knew about the meeting today for the emergency management. Made sure that they had all their data ready and everything and presentation-wise, so that was it.
Prime West doesn't meet in July. The only other meeting I had was Family Safety Network. Currently, we have some positions open there. And then, I don't know if you guys got this email from Matt Friedman, but he's the director of MASA. Am I saying that right? That's the Minnesota Human Resource. And he's AMC Human Service Policy Analyst, and his last day will be July 28th. And then just for information, I don't know if any of you saw the article about the community center that was in the Park Rapids Enterprise. I'm just letting you know, I haven't been invited to attend the last meetings, but when I attended last year, I was very clear that the county wasn't interested in levying for day-to-day operation, and I know Angel was there echoing the same thing for the city. So that article did address their trying to figure out how they would operate it.
The one in Walker, you know about that.
Yeah, they're
They had a
struggling.
lot of donations, but then it's operation after the donations.
So, in Mojave, there's representation in Wadena and Becker counties, and we've had a lot of discussion on the lack of funding for community and centers, and it's been a real headache for both of those counties, so we would need to proceed with caution if asked.
Community centers rely on some public dollars for operation. Whether it's in-kind, whether it's cash, whether it's discounts. The Perham Community Center, the Detroit Lakes Community Center, the Cook County one I'm familiar with, all have public support.
I can think of the event center in Bemidji.
Yeah, and what do people think about that one?
The same thing in Cass County.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that there's any public support for that, and they struggle to. Can you make
And didn't
make
didn't
the
Walker
debt
file
payments?
bankruptcy?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah. And I didn't know this, but the Wadena Center, they got the dollars when the tornado went through. Yeah,
That's gotta be an expensive one to operate.
it
They've
is,
got the
and
pool.
there's considerable concern about how long. I mean, how much do you ask for taxpayers when all of these other things get
Yeah.
transferred to counties?
They keep adding up.
Yeah.
What's your priorities? Do you
Yeah.
fund your nursing home or community center?
Yeah.
I mean, it's always things tugging against each other.
So that's all I
Okay.
have.
All right, David?
So I had a Northwest Emergency Radio Board meeting. That was fine. Nothing really new there, just standard standard stuff. And then I had a chance to meet with Tim Terrell from Mississippi Headwaters Board, just to kind of learn a little bit more about that. I know your board asked him to go touch base with some commissioners that, you know, he hasn't visited with. So that was nice. Spent about an hour with him.
Yeah, he's gonna,
Things I've had.
I'm trying to schedule a meeting with him, but I'm gonna wait till a little later in August
Yeah.
to do the same thing.
It's kind of interesting, you know, what you're doing there with the promotion of the recreational use of the Mississippi. And I was drawing a lot of parallels with him, about all the resources we have in Hubbard County that we don't really even market, like the kayaking and canoeing you can do in Hubbard County, and,
Yeah.
and the ATVing and different things that we kind of dropped the ball on that stuff here because we don't have the money. You know, but there's ways to do that stuff, but it still takes some money to do it. And so it was kind of interesting to see how he's doing it.
And it's kind of, I kind of wonder if we should be looking at, and I'm ignorant with social network stuff, but that seems to be where a lot of people get their information. And if there's, and what are the costs and how does that look, type of a thing.
Yeah.
Um,
It starts with a really robust webpage, and then you go from there. Without a robust enough webpage, you don't have the medium for conveying as easily, or at least a landing spot for people to go to when they get the hint about what you're about, want to know more.
And like I say, I know Aiken County is partnering with Mississippi Headwaters Board to use their Minnesota Traditions
Yeah.
account.
Unfortunately for us, you know, our part of the Mississippi up here
Yeah.
is
Yes.
really narrow and small that,
Yeah.
you know, there's probably not a lot of recreational use being done on the Mississippi in Headwaters, but we can learn a lot from what's being done.
A little bit of canoeing and kayaking I see occasionally. That's during our short stretch we have. So, anything else, Dave?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, all right. We have our meetings to note, listed. I guess if there's nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
It fairs this week if you can make it out there.
I move to adjourn.
Shar moves, is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.